Let's start with something pretty cut and dry. Stay away from people who are okay with humiliating you or emasculating you in any kind of a public setting or on a public forum. Someone who has your best interest in their heart will always want the best for you, regardless of whether or not you guys had a fight that day. They don't need to embarrass you in order to give themselves validation that they were right. I've come to find out that people are attracted to good people, but they're not necessarily attracted to nice people. And these are only a couple of the lessons that I have learned in 25 years of dating. Hello friends, my name is Maria, and one thing I love about reading books and watching YouTube is you could have someone with 30, 40, or 50 years of experience in a subject, and you could learn a lot about what they have learned in a span of 20 minutes. And we could use all the help we can get, because if you're like me and you struggle with anxious behaviors, a traumatic background, or a lot of insecurities, sometimes I personally feel like stereotypical dating advice like just be yourself doesn't quite cut the mustard, especially when our experiences from our past have made it incredibly hard for us to distinguish between the good kind of stress in relationships, the kind of stress that push us and inspire us to become a 2.0 version of ourselves, and chronic stress, the kind of stress in a relationship that erodes your spirit. It'll make you look bad, it'll make you feel bad, and you might even develop some bad habits that you didn't even have before. So if you're interested in tips that will help you develop some good old-fashioned healthy dating hygiene, then grab a bottle of nail polish and let's talk. One of the anxious behaviors you can stop doing right now that will help boost your attraction in dating is stop asking permission. For example, I stopped asking people their permission to be myself. If I saw an event online that I was interested in, let's say a yoga class on a Friday night, I would decide to go, and if the person that I was dating happened to ask me out for that Friday, I'd say, hey, I'm sorry, I've already got plans. Maybe we can do something Sunday afternoon instead. I know that sounds pretty basic, but here's what I used to do. I would see the yoga event online, and instead of signing up for it, I would first text the guy I was dating and ask him, hey, were you maybe wanting to get together this weekend? Because I saw this yoga event on Friday night that I kind of wanted to do, and you can already tell a big difference in the energy. Don't keep your weekends open for people who have not yet asked you out on the date. Design your weekend the way that you want to live it, because if they're asking you out at the very last minute, you shouldn't be saying yes anyway. If you find yourself canceling your own plans you've already made, ask yourself if the reason you're saying yes to them is because they're bringing an energy into your life that's causing you to feel like if you do not bail on everything and take advantage of this opportunity to see them right now, you might not be able to see them for a while. How confident are you that if you tell this person you already have plans, they'll still want to see you again a few days later or the weekend after? If you say no to a last-minute invitation and you really don't hear from them for a long time, they weren't for you. They were probably only using you to pep up a slow date night. Another way you can tell if someone is only using you to fill up their time is a little thing called passive reciprocation. This is when you text them and they always text you back, but they never text you first. Or you invite them out on a date and they say yes, but you notice that they never reach out to you asking to get together. When it comes to getting together, you want to be with someone who's on the same excitement plane that you are. I remember one of the best things about dating is when I was having a really long work week, it was okay, because I knew at the end of that week I was going to get my reward. And the reward was I was going to get to go out on a date with a guy I really liked. And when you know you have a date in a few days with someone you're really into, it can pep up your entire week. You absolutely want to be dating someone who feels the same way. Let's be honest, if you have plans for next weekend with someone you're really interested in, you are not going to just spontaneously forget that you guys had plans together. And if the week goes on and you don't hear from them, so you send them a reminder text asking them if you guys are still on for that weekend, and oops, they forgot. They're either full of crap or they are not for you. And trust me, if you try to force a relationship like this forward, it will turn into crap. Here's another deal breaker. You haven't even met this person in person and they're already asking for inappropriate photos. Now, I know to a lot of people this seems like common sense, but for some people, the ability to reasonably handle a situation like this, it's just not there. These women think that they have to give everything in order to get back something, because in their mind, something is better than nothing. And speaking of giving everything, we have got to talk about booty call guy. Oh yes, I have certainly dated booty call guy. And even though there were some times I really didn't feel like going over to his house, I was insecure and I felt like if I didn't, he would be upset or disappointed, or he wouldn't like me anymore and he wouldn't want to date me anymore. But I have since learned 3 things. Number 1, booty calls are not dates. Number 2, sleeping with guys does not make them like you or respect you any more than they were already going to. And saying no doesn't make men like you any less. Looking back now, that guy I was dating never would have dumped me just because he texted me up and I said no. There's lots of other things that you can do that inspire men to like you and get their attention. But I know sometimes people like to test their luck and push boundaries because getting together can be fun, and especially fun for them when they don't have to do any of the work. Why take a gal out to a nice dinner when she'll just hop in her car and drive right to your bedroom every time you snap your fingers? And if you don't think that women don't use men in the same exact way, when maybe every once in a while they're feeling down, they know that a guy likes them and they could sure use a blast of validation to their ego, you would be wrong. Women do it too, and if you have an anxious attachment, booty calls, don't even mess with them. They're a recipe for heartbreak. And here's one for the gentleman. There is a dating coach on YouTube just for men who has a strategy with girls that blow hot and cold that I 100% agree with. If you've been out on at least a couple of dates with a girl and she's given you the old, oh, things are busy right now, I might not be ready for a relationship, but her behavior's confusing because she still kind of orbits you and texts you every once in a while. He's got a foolproof way to find out if this girl does have any kind of romantic feelings towards you. Ask her over to your house to cook dinner together. Her answer will tell you everything you need to know and keep you out of months or years of friend zone hell. I agree with this theory because as a woman, if there's a man who I truly don't have any intentions on having romantic fun with, I'll go damn near anywhere with him except back to his house on an evening, because these days it does send a message that you are open for the potential of romance to happen. And if you don't potentially see yourself romantically liking a guy, you're not going over that guy's house to Netflix and chill. Also, as a woman, don't let a guy invite you over to Netflix and chill too soon after you've started dating. Create lazy dating. I've just found in my experience, once I started saying yes to stuff like that, that's all we ever did. The guy wasn't motivated to take me out anymore. If you have a different experience, please go ahead and comment down below. And if you enjoy videos like this, go ahead and let me know and I'll be This is by far not an exhaustive list of all the things that I have personally learned while dating. So if you'd like to learn more about this in a video in the future, let me know. And here's an oldie, but it is timeless. If you ever ask someone out, guys or girls, and they give you any variation of, oh, my work's just crazy busy right now, or oh, gosh, I really need to work on myself right now, or I'm not ready for a committed relationship, or oh, you don't want to date me, I'm not girlfriend/boyfriend material, stay away. I no longer consider phrases like this a challenge or their first offer. I consider phrases like this a non-starter. We waste so much time trying to get people where we want them or where we think we need them, but it's completely futile. We cannot control people. You can take rejection less personally by not thinking of it as a rejection. See it as good information. In fact, I could have saved myself loads of time if I had listened to, there was a different dating coach that said something that is burned into my brain forever. Because he was right. I was at a point in my life where I was really confused about this guy's intentions towards me because he was doing the whole passive reciprocation thing. Whenever I texted him, he would text me back and he'd even give me some flirty banter, but he never actually asked me out. And he never actually initiated any text messages. So if I didn't text him, I didn't hear from him. And this YouTube coach pointed right at me through the camera. He looked me in the eyes and said, if someone knows that you are interested in them, but they don't contact you for over 2 weeks, they don't really give a f about you. And it was jarring and it was painful because that is not the advice that I wanted to hear, but it was the advice that I needed to hear. The mistake I made was I wouldn't let myself hear it. I wasted 8 months of my life noodling around with a guy who was not interested in me. Here's one positive thing I have learned about people's interest. People's interest in you can grow. Some of the best relationships and friendships I've ever had with people, I barely remember meeting them for the first time. Sometimes people don't bowl you over immediately with their looks. Maybe they're not even your usual type. But I 1000% have lived and learned that as we get to know people, their characteristics and the funny little quirks they have that make them unique become by far more attractive than how they ever look on the outside. Welcome to the other half, where we know attraction is not just about looks. We also have to take care of the inner half, because if you are somebody with no convictions and you don't know who you are, how are you going to inspire anyone else to be interested in getting to know you? That's one of the biggest things I've learned. Dating is a process of getting to know people. And if you're dating with a serious intention of spending a lifetime with someone, just realize that getting to know someone is a lifetime process. It is great to have a list of your boundaries and know what your deal breakers are and be able to spot red flags as quickly as possible. But other than that, just go out on a date with them and focus on fun. Try not to interrogate people about their lifestyle or their finances. I'm sure it would make you feel pretty uncomfortable if someone who barely knew you started doing that to you. But also, do not sit there and feel like you have to justify your whole life to someone you just met. That was a big mistake I used to make. I used to lay my entire resume and my accomplishments out on the table. It was complete approval-seeking behavior. I finally learned you don't need to interrogate people. People love to talk about themselves, and you can get to know someone a lot faster if you just quiet down a little more. They'll talk about their job and you can tell if they're a motivated person, or they'll give you signals that they are retired comfortably. You will find out if they're a responsible, stable person or if they have a problem with impulse control, like they love gambling or they get way too drunk on the date. You get a good idea about people by the way they talk about animals. Do they respect other living creatures? Do they respect your waiter? What is their relationship like with their kids? Do they bring up an ex either in an exchange before the first date, like you even know them as a friend and they're always talking about their ex, or they bring up an ex on the first date? How about this? Do they go into really personal things even though they don't know you very well? It's a sign that a person could be emotionally troublesome for you because they have some issues they have not worked through yet. Absolutely, no one is perfect. We've all got junk. And people with traumatic backgrounds can go on to have healthy relationships. But oversharing is a sign of unresolved trauma. Ask yourself, do you do this on dates? You could be sending up a red flag without realizing it. You could be costing yourself a second date. I mean, for me, one of the biggest and most painful lessons I had to learn in my dating career is my anxious tendencies were costing me opportunities. It was one of the scariest things I'd ever done, just letting go and quieting down. You know, don't do all of the initiating. Don't always ask a guy out as soon as you like him. Lean back and let people show you how they feel about you. And the scariest thing of all, if you don't hear from people, let them go. That single thought was the most terrifying, but I finally got to a place where I realized I had nothing to lose. And if you are in a place where none of your dating and relationship scenarios are working out in your favor, just try it. Face your fear. Focus on fun. And check your baggage by Essie Nails. My name is Maria Adriana. You did not have to live my life, but I certainly hope you can learn something from it. As always, thank you for visiting The Other Half.